So what is meant by research? I think you must be knowing the meaning of the research. Research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information in order to increase our understanding of a topic or issues. It means that you are going to find out a solution for a problem or issues. Okay, so you will know that there is two major types of research: quantitative and qualitative research. Under quantitative and qualitative research, there are many types of research called experimental research, descriptive research, and quasi-experimental research, phenomenological approach, case report. Okay, in even systematic review, also one of the type of research. When you ask where it's come, it will come according to the method of data what you are using. Based on that one, it will come under quantitative research or qualitative research or mixed method of research. Okay, so what is the mean? Why you are calling it is as a systematic review? What is the meaning of it? If you see, systematic review is a rigorous research method that involves a systematic approach of collecting, assessing, and synthesizing the relevant unpublished and published literature to answer a well-defined research question. Okay, it can be either be a quantitative or qualitative. So it says that you are going to formulate a question. To find out the answer for a question, you are going to select, or you are going to search for a evidence. Evidence means the research which is published on a particular topic. Okay, the primary research which has been published on a particular question. You are going to collect all the research and you are going to synthesize the data and you are going to find the answer for the question. Okay, that's why it is called systematic review. So you can see this, it is entirely different from other types of research. Here, the researcher is not going to collect the data from the sample. Okay, and yeah, there is no need of ethical clearance for this study, and you cannot say it is a original research. You can say it is a review article, and the so this is the thing. And who is using whether the systematic review is new, it is not even in the research methodology. It is very old method of research. Mostly it is used by the medical professional and public health research people. Okay, because you know that in medical profession, every day many intervention, treatment, drugs are coming out. Okay, so that when the doctor decided to you, or any physician or medical practitioner decided to use a new treatment or innovation or medicine, just like that, they cannot apply for the patient, they cannot use it for the patient. So they have to know how much effectiveness of the treatment and what is the harm effect of the treatment for this. They have to go through the research which has been published on a particular treatment. They will go through all the research which has been published and they will find out the exact outcome. Then when they apply for the treatment. Okay, for this they use systematic review. Okay, so mostly they used for the clinical trial. Okay, clinical trial will come under experimental method of research. So they use systematic review for the clinical trial, that is experimental types of research. Whether it can be used for other method of research, yes, it can be used for the quasi and descriptive type of research. Okay, where mostly in the educational side, if they found out, they want to find out whether the new assessment method is effective or not, or whether the new method of teaching is effective or not, they can go ahead with this systematic review. Okay. So what are the steps are there in systematic review? There are 7 steps are there in systematic review. First step is formulating a research question. Second, develop a protocol. Third, search for all relevant studies. Fourth step is applying the selection criteria. Fifth step, extracting the data. Sixth is the synthesizing the data. And the last step is the write and publish a report. Okay. So for the first step is like other types of research. For the systematic review also, the researcher need to formulate their research question. Okay. So there, the researcher will formulate a research problem statement. Here, the researcher is going to formulate a research question. The research question is supposed to be very clearly formulated. It has to communicate to other researcher or practitioner, the researcher, what is going to do it. Okay. And second thing, any researcher which is going to formulate a research question for the systematic review, you need to have the 4 components called PICO. Okay. So what is the meaning of PICO? Population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. Okay, so this no need to be in this side. This can be rearranged. Okay, but all those four components supposed to be there in the research question, but it can be rearranged in any format. Okay, so I'm just going to explain with the simple example. The researcher want to do a systematic review on the effect. What is the effectiveness of probiotic versus non-probiotic treatment for reducing eczema symptoms and improving the quality of life in patients with eczema? Okay, this is the question which is formulated by the researcher for the systematic review. Here, who is this population? Patient with eczema. What is the intervention? Probiotic. And what is the comparison? No treatment or other type of probiotic treatment. What is the outcome? The researcher want to see whether there is a changes in the symptoms of eczema and quality of life. And what is the type of studies used for it? The researcher is used for it. Randomized controlled trial. Okay, so any researcher want to do a systematic review, they need to formulate a research question that should have these four components called population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. Okay, so second step is developing a protocol. Okay, so the developing a protocol and research methodology, both are similar. Okay, but little bit difference is there in the developing a protocol. So what is why you have to prepare a protocol in systematic review? It is a document that contains your research plan. Okay, so the complete research plan of the systematic review will be developed in this protocol. Okay, so when the researcher is preparing when they prepare this protocol, it helps to reduce the bias of selecting the research studies, and it will improve the quality and efficacy of the study. For this purpose, the researcher need to develop a protocol for the systematic review. When he's preparing the protocol, he need to write about the background information, why he selected this research question, why it is important. Second thing, need to formulate the objective, and third is the method, how he is going to collect the evidence. Okay, so here, I'm sorry. So when he's writing the method, first you need to formulate the selection criteria, inclusion and exclusion criteria. So I said the researcher has decided to do study about patient with eczema and how effective the probiotic treatment, reducing the symptoms and improving the quality of life. So when he started searching the database, he will get thousands of, okay, numerous research paper which is published on a particular topic. Okay, so the researcher cannot go ahead with all the topic. It's very difficult for him to go ahead and read all the review. So but at the same time, you don't need all the research. You need only the particular thing, how effective the probiotic to reduce the symptoms and improve the quality of life. Okay, so for this, you need to formulate the criteria like the studies which has been done by using quantitative research, the research which is published in the indexed journal and the published between 2000 to 2021. Okay, and using only the studies which is done by using quantitative analysis only, and the studies done to find out the treatment effectiveness on both the aspect of symptoms and quality of life. Like this, they have to formulate the criteria. When they formulate the criteria, though they selected many thousands of literature, primary research on the topic, when they start scrutinizing the studies by using this criteria, there is no need of they may be able to delete many studies. They will come into the final decision with the 20 or 30 studies only. Okay, for this purpose, they have to formulate the selection criteria. Second thing is searching strategy. Okay, so what is meant by selection strategy? Here, the researcher need to tell where he is going to search for the research article or primary research which has been published, whether it's from the PubMed or from the Scopus or from the Clarivate analysis or from the Emphasis. Okay, and what is the keyword the researcher is going to use, that should be mentioned. Okay, and the third thing you need to say, the researcher need to say about analysis. Okay, analysis means how is going to collect the data, how is going to synthesize the data, and how is going to get the answer for the question. That should be explained in the analysis column. Suppose the researcher has found to formulating this protocol, we can get advice from the advisory committee. Okay. After preparing this protocol, the people going ahead for the systematic review, after preparing the protocol, they need to register this protocol there in the organization. Okay, there are systematic review organizations are available called Prosperous or clinical trial organization. They the register, the researcher need to register their protocol. Why? Why they have to register your protocol? It helps to improve the transparency of your studies and improve the quality and reliability of the study. Okay. So when you start doing the registration in the Prosperous, after registration, they will be displaying around 40 questions related to your systematic review. You need to fill all those 40 questions and you have to submit. It will take 1 month time period to give you the registration number. Okay. So once you're after finishing our systematic review study, you want to go for your publication in the indexed journal. Okay, they may ask you about the registration number of your protocol. If you are not producing the registration number of the protocol, they're not going to accept your systematic review studies. So that's why the protocol should be prepared properly with the background, inclusion, exclusion criteria, selection strategy, keywords. All those things should be prepared and need to be registered. Okay. So after developing the protocol, the next thing is searching for all relevant studies. Okay. So here, I want to tell you one thing. If any researcher want to do research on systematic review, it is not possible with one single researcher. They need to have at least 2-3 researchers, at least minimum of 3 researchers. Suppose if you say, I'm alone can do everything. If so you're going, after doing everything, you're going to publish the research there in the index journal, they're not going to accept it because your research is biased. They say your research is biased, so they will not accept it. So any research, when you want to do for a systematic review, you need to have this minimum of 3 research. Okay. So here I want to tell how to select the relevant studies. Already I told you, you formulate the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the researcher, and they selected the keywords and which is the database is going to search, already informed everything by the researcher and clearly in the protocol. Okay. Based on the keywords, and they will start, the researcher will start searching all the databases from the PubMed, from the Scopus, from the Clarivate analysis, from the MBOS, everywhere, all the database they'll start searching for the studies which has been published related to the research question which is formulated by the researcher for the systematic review. Okay. And they can search by searching in the Google Scholar, Google search also they can do it. And sometimes they can go ahead with the gray literature. What is the meaning of gray literature? It is the literature, the document which is produced by the government and universities that can, and it is not published, also can be included. Okay. So when they start, and they can get even from the expert in the field. Some of the research may not be published, but they must be having. So the researcher can get from the experts although they're in the field. So after all the getting the research, and it is important, the researcher need to maintain a document of all the selected research from the database. It means from the PubMed, how many research has been selected. From the Scopus, how many research paper has been selected. From this Clarivate analysis, like this, the researcher need to maintain a document. Okay. So after maintaining the document, because the searching, after maintaining the document, they have to go ahead with the 4th steps called applying the selection criteria. By using the keyword, by using the question, the researcher has selected around thousands of studies from the database. Okay. So already I told him it is not necessary all the thousands of studies need to be included for the systematic review, because sometimes all the studies are not going to give answer for the questions. So the researcher need to go through all the research paper which is selected from the database by using the selection criteria, whether it is met all the selection criteria. If suppose the selected studies are not met the selection criteria, he can delete the studies. Okay, when he's deleting the studies which is selected from which database is deleted, we need to maintain a document. Okay, then second, they have to go ahead after selecting that one, and they have to go ahead with reading of title and abstract. Okay, they have to go ahead with the reading of title and abstract. So after using the selection criteria, suppose the researcher has found 1,500 studies related to the research question. Okay, after reading up according to the selection criteria, he deleted around 300 studies because it is not coming under the selection criteria. Okay, after deleted the 300 study, you must be having 1,200 studies. Okay, so after selecting the 1,200 studies, you need to read the title and abstract. By reading the title and abstract, you should decide whether it is going to useful, whether it is going to give the answer for the question. If it's not going to use, again you can delete it. Okay. Suppose it comes under 1,000. Again, the researcher need to read the complete research paper. Okay. When you started reading the complete research paper, some information may not be clear. Some of the answer is not clear to clear for your research question, and so they have to delete again many studies. Okay, after deleting all those studies, finally the researcher may come out the 50, 100 or 115 studies only. Okay, maybe 200, 300 studies. So the final from the 2,000 studies, the researcher has come into the 300 studies only for the systematic review. Okay, so when he's doing all this process need to be documented, like how many studies from PubMed, how many from Scopus, how many from the database, everything you need to write. How many was deleted by using the selection criteria, which is selected from which database. And second, how many studies has been deleted from by reading the title and abstract, again, which from which database studies. Third, after reading the full text, how many studies has been collected. And finally, how many studies has been included for the systematic review need to be written in detailed document, because when you are writing the manuscript for the publication, all this process need to be presented as a flow diagram, that is using prism flow diagram. Okay, so what is prism flow diagram? Here, this is a diagram you have to mention there in the selection criteria. So identification, screening, eligibility, inclusion. So identification, number of records that is written from the database search, number of additional records identified from other sources. And sometimes when you start searching many databases, sometimes you must have taken duplication of the same studies from different databases. You must have selected that to be removed. Number of records screened by title and abstract. Number of records excluded with the reason to be maintained. Number of articles assessed by the full text, and how many excluded with the reason. And number of studies included for the systematic review should be mentioned. Okay, so after writing, so you need to maintain the document to write the company to prepare this prism flow diagram. Okay, again I'm telling you whether it is needed. It is needed when you go for the publication in the index journal. Okay, after selecting all the studies, now the researcher need to extract the data. Okay, so when he started extracting the data, there is a that is in the two researcher need to study all the relevant studies, and they have to extract the data. Okay, when he's extracting the data, and you need to tabulate it in the form of title of the study, year of publication, and where, how many samples taken, how the study, which is the method of research design is used, and what is the drug trial or what is the treatment is used, and what is the outcome is assessed, and what is the finding. Like this need to be tabulated, one. And second thing, the researcher need to use a prism checklist to assess the quality of the studies. Okay, whether the study is having complete information or not, you need to maintain a checklist. So during the data extraction, the researcher need to do two things. One is preparation of the table, and second thing is preparation of the checklist for assessing the quality of the study. Okay, so I said you need three researchers. To where you need three researchers means in the previous steps. So I said the researcher will read all the research related to the title and abstract by reading the full article. Okay, when you started doing this thing, sometimes the researcher will get confused whether the study is to be selected or not. The third researcher will read and he will say whether to be included or not. For this purpose, I said you need to have three researchers. I'm sorry, I'm telling you late. Okay, so after extracting the data, and then the researcher has written everything in the table and written the checklist. And again, now he has to go for the synthesis. This is the checklist I said. You can see this is the PRISM checklist, and they have criteria for abstract, title, abstract, And for the inclusion criteria, conclusion, everything, introduction, methods. Okay, against each criteria, you have to read whether the introduction is clear. You have to put a tick mark. Okay, whether this author has given keywords, then you have to say how many keywords, whether he used the mesh keyword or not. For everything, you have to read and you have to give the mark, whether it is fully met, partially met, or unmet. And finally, if the criteria is, suppose if there is a 50 criteria, if the study is has met only 20 or 25, 20 criteria, you have to need to exclude this research paper, research article from the systematic review. For this purpose, you need to maintain this checklist. Okay, so you have to maintain this. You have to prepare a system, prism flow diagram, and you need to maintain the table with all the data and collected information, and you have to maintain the prism checklist for the quality of the study. Okay, after preparing all those things, now the researcher need to synthesize the data, okay, and get the answer for the question. Okay, so how to synthesize the data? There are two different methods or approaches can be used: narrative approach and quantitative approach. When you say narrative approach, here it is a qualitative. Okay, so here the researcher is going to summarize the information in the word. Okay, I just want to give you an example. Suppose the researcher is tried with the drug, okay, for the pain. So after giving the pain medication, is going to ask the patient by asking him how you are feeling now, whether your level of pain is reduced by using the pain scale. The patient may say, now how it was before severe pain, now it has become moderate pain. Or sometimes the patient say, after taking my medication, my pain tolerance is increased. That's all. By using the subjective data of the patient is going to conclude that, get the answer for the question. Then it is called narrative synthesis. Suppose the researcher is going to collect all the data of the studies, okay, from the studies which is selected for the systematic review. Suppose any data is missing, the researcher need to get the data from the primary researcher. You need to call, need to send email and get the data. After collecting all the data, you need to do the analysis, synthesize, and get the answer for the result. Then it is quantitative. Otherwise, it is called meta-analysis. Suppose the researcher is going to use only qualitative method of analysis, then it is called systematic review. Suppose the researcher is going to use quantitative, then it is called systematic review with meta-analysis. And suppose the researcher is going to use both the method of narrative and quantitative, then it is called systematic review meta-analysis with the mixed method of study. Okay, so generally it is good to use both the approach. Okay, suppose if the data is not supporting with adequate information, then they can go ahead with the qualitative narrative approach. So after finishing all those steps, the researcher now need to write and publish a report. Why need to write a report? The purpose of writing a systematic review article is to share the answer to your research question and explain how you arrived this answer. Okay. So for this purpose, you need to write a report. So when you're writing the report, right, just like other research studies, you have to write abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion. Along with this, you have to prepare prism checklist, table, prism flow diagram. When you have decided to publish this systematic review for the indexed journal, you need to produce this prism flow diagram, prism checklist to assess the quality of the study, and table as a supplementary file for the publication. If you don't, and with the registration number of cross-presso organization. If you don't have all those things, all the 4 components, they are not going to accept the systematic review study for the publication. This after preparing your manuscript, you can go ahead with the publication with all those details. You can go ahead with the publication of the coherent database or clinical or peer-reviewed journal. Okay, so now I think it's clear for you. Systematic review is having 7 steps, and the researcher need to follow the 7 steps properly. The first and foremost important steps in systematic review is preparing the research question and developing a protocol. Okay, so what is the advantages of doing systematic review and what is the disadvantage? When you systematic review, when you do this, there are many advantages. It helps to reduce the bias because the researcher is just like that is not going to read and select the relevant research studies for the evidence. Okay, is going to search all the relevant research studies by using the selection criteria and by using the keywords. Okay, so the bias is reduced and it is transparent because the researcher is clearly saying how he is going to select all the relevant studies, how he is going to collect the data, how he is going to synthesize the data. Everything is clearly stated, so the research is very transparent. And here, all the possible research done on the topic is selected for the review. Okay, and what is a disadvantage? It is a time consuming. The researcher need to select all the relevant studies published in that all the database. It takes more than 2 months or 3 months. After that, they have to scrutinize and they have to read and synthesize the data, and they have to check, they have to see the quality of the studies. When they start doing for all those processes, it takes long time. At least for the systematic review studies, it needs 6 to 9 months to finish. Okay, and the second thing is it is narrow in scope because the systematic review is going to answer for the question which is formulated, not more than that. You are going to get only one answer for your question, not more than that. Okay, so that's why it is narrow things. Okay, so I said that now I'll just show you how to prepare a manuscript for the systematic review. When the researcher is writing the abstract, the researcher need to tell about the brief background, aim, hypothesis, summary of the method of searching, summary of quantitative result, conclusion. Inference should be provided in the review abstract. Okay, this is an example. The systematic review and meta-analysis study is done but to find out the effectiveness of FK506 on stroke patients. Stroke patient means patient who's having problem in the brain. Okay, and they selected the studies published until February 2012, and they want to test, that is a research question, the therapy is how effective in improving the neuroproduction of the brain in the particular paradigm. And the researcher is searched PubMed, Web of Science, Biosis, independently by the two researchers. Okay, even they selected the abstract which is published from the conference and they screened, okay, by using the selection criteria. After selecting all the studies, they done a review and the result shows and suggestion. Like this, the abstract should be presented with the complete the study detail. Okay, after writing the abstract, need to write the introduction. In the introduction the question being asked should be emphasized. The unknown in the literature highlighted and the aim of hypothesis stated should be mentioned. It is important to identify and justify the need for the review and to state the potential implication of its completion. Okay, how it is different from the other studies which is done on a particular question. Okay, how the systematic review is going to differ from other research studies published on a particular topic. That should be given in the introduction. Methodology. Here the researcher is going to explain about the selection criteria, keywords, and what are the database has been searched, how many studies has been retrieved from the database, okay, and how many has been deleted and reason for deleting, how the quality of the selection criteria was maintained by using the flow chart. So prism flow diagram is going to explain. The researcher is going to explain. Okay, that next is the result. When is the result? The three components should be discussed first. About the method is selected the studies. Second, how is summarized, how is found out that is how is tabulated the results of the studies. And third is going to directly tell about the quality and efficacy of the treatment. Okay, whether the treatment is effective at what level. Okay, that is going to tell directly. Okay, that is the thing. Next is about discussion. The discussion here, the researcher is supposed to directly tell about the results. What is the finding answer for the question? Need not to tell about the researcher has said like this, the researcher has concluded like this. No need to write like this. The researcher is going to tell the answer for the question directly. Okay, and just directly is going to the drug is having efficacy to treat the patient with eczema, reducing the symptoms and improving the quality of life. So like this, the researcher is going to conclude, get the answer in one word. Okay. And the next thing is when the researcher is writing the discussion, need to write the limitation of the studies. Though you are selected many studies may not be able to include it, sometimes may not be included because the study has not written properly or the study has not given the complete detail. Maybe it is published in some other language. Because of this, the researcher must have missed some studies which is related to the question. Okay. So further, the researcher need to write the limitation of the research. Okay. So the last component is a conclusion. Here the researcher finally going to say the brief, direct interpretation of the finding of the study, and again he can give the suggestion for the future research. And some of the key points, when any researcher want to do the systematic review, we need to do the rigorous, impartial, and literature-wise study outcome, and need to prepare a proper protocol. And the researcher need to should not prepare a vague question. If you prepare a vague question, the answer which is going to get for a question is not effective. Okay, when he is searching the literature, need to select all the relevant literature and extract the data properly, and need to maintain a record, and need to inform about the limitation of the studies. The finding should be the novel finding, and it is going to bring support for the systematic review. Okay. So thank you. Any doubt or any clarification, please?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the important topic, Dr. Aruna. We benefited from the excellent presentation. I thankful all the attendees, and I wish you a happy days. Thank you so much. And كنت أتمنى طبعاً إنه يكون في more students إنهم يكونوا حاضرين، لكن للأسف يمكن ما عرفناش نوصل لهم بالشكل الكافي لأن بعتنا لهم اليوم، ويبدو إنه مش كلهم وصل لهم المسج إنهم يحضروا ويستفيدوا. الموضوع يعني مهم جداً وفي صلب شغلهم وفي دراستهم، فكنت أتمنى أن الكل يكون حاضر من الطلبة أو الطالبات يعني، لكن إن شاء الله في مرات قادمة. أشكرك جدا دكتور أرونا، وأتمنى إن شاء الله نتقابل على خير في محاضرات قادمة بإذن الله. Thank you so much Dr. Aruna for this excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody is having any doubt for the clarification? I'm here to answer for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, I can leave the session. Atika, ma'am?
Yes, we are finished. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, please send me the whole presentation, please.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, Atika, ma'am. Thank you, Happiness, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.